Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Two Homeschool Moms. I'm Nickie.
And I'm Ashlee. If you're looking for real, raw, and relatable moms who talk all things homeschool and mom life,
you're in the right place. All right, so today we have a fun collaboration conversation topic. Me and Ashlee are hosting our very own collaboration talking about homeschooling through hard times. I feel like is a really important topic and relatable topic for a lot of people. So we're hosting, and there will be a link down below in the description box. Whether you are listening as a podcaster or on YouTube, there will be a link of the playlist for a bunch of other moms who are joining us in this conversation and how they manage to get through hard times in homeschooling in their videos. So please go check that out. Support their channels on YouTube. So we have a lot to say on this topic. But first, we just want to announce that the reason we're collabing on this is we are hoping to also help promote our brand new spanking podcast, Two Homeschool Moms, what you're listening on right now. So if you would love to help spread the word, share the word with your peeps, with your homeschool community, whatever you want, share it with at least one person would help us out, and have them subscribe to our YouTube channel or podcast on whatever platform they prefer. That would be great. So let's talk. We want to give just a little bit of, an update as we usually do on our podcast. So do you have anything to update us on, Ashlee?
I'm changing all my curriculum. So.
Oh, drop the bomb.
So I've talked about just separating out my girls, but with that also comes the need to change curriculum, because I chose certain curriculums based on the fact we could all do it together.
Yeah.
I'm only going to give a sneak peek. I obviously will have a lot more on like my individual channel in detail, but something that I really found fun that I want to share is moving beyond the page curriculum, which, I love. You've used it.
Yeah.
It's a good time. At their 5th grade level, it becomes independent. So from 5th grade on, the workbooks are independent. So it's talking to the student. Yeah. And so that was like, okay, game changer, because I was so nervous. I'm like, I can't do 2 of these with 2 kids every day. Like, I'm going to lose my mind.
That would be like an insane unit study for both kids for 2 different books, likely.
Correct.
Yeah, that would be a lot. Oh my God, that's so exciting.
So great.
Okay, so that's, was kind of my update I was going to surprise you with, because, I was up really late last night and I was on eBay because you mentioned eBay, and I totally forget eBay exists. So I was on eBay and I was looking up the Moving Beyond the Page 2, because I'm like, I think I really want to give that a try for 4th grade.
Yeah.
Because she's such a book person and she loves reading books, especially during school time.
Yeah.
When she's like, when it's me and her. So that's exciting. But I didn't find like a great deal like you do, because I'm just never that person to find great deals. But I'm going to assist. I am going to force you to help me with that area. But I ended up reordering Mostos for next year on eBay. I found the next 4th grade level of Mostos, which I guess if we do Moving Beyond the Page, it would be like kind of a double whammy. But I feel like Mostos or Mostos, whatever it's said, I freaking know. But I feel like it goes into a lot more like setting, plot, like vocabulary. So I feel like it hits other things, I guess. I mean, I know Moving Beyond the Page has some of that too, but I feel like that's more easy to skip and pick and choose what you want to do with it because of different activities that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I ordered that for next year.
Cool. Yeah, and I think Moving Beyond the Page is, it's not overwhelming. So it's very easy to still use other curriculums and not feel like you're doing too many things. We both have fun updates.
Yeah, and my kid's 9. So
yes. How you feeling, Mom? Last year in single digits.
Nope. Nope, we're not going to talk about that.
10 was hard. 10 was rough. But turn 10,
I feel like
my
9
mind.
is equally as hard just for that reason, because I know this is the last year of her single digit. And so like that's emotional, like thinking back, like I always go through pictures, I feel like, around their birthday and just like look at like how fast the freaking time flies. And she had a birthday party this year and she had it at an ice rink and they did bumper cars on the ice, which was really fun. Some of her friends came and some of our friends came and we got to, all the adults went out there and we all had a freaking blast and it was great. And we went to Great Wolf Lodge on her birthday. We're filming this technically before that, so I'm not going to say we had a great time because I don't know if we will, but that's our plan for her actual birthday, which is tomorrow. But you'll be seeing this video like a week later. So
After.
I don't know. It's great. It's cool. She's 9. We're doing it. I can't believe we're going to be going into 4th grade in the same year we're in right now, which is crazy to think too. But here we are. All right. Homeschooling through hard times. You go first.
Let's talk about it. Okay. Well, so I think hard times change. So we'll talk about that. I think there's variations of what hard times mean, and we're going to cover a lot of them. So it could be hard times because your child is really young and they require a lot of you, repetitively doing stuff, or we get into the older language or ages where attitude becomes the hard thing, or there's other things going on with our kids individually that is hard things. So, I think there's a lot that constitutes what is hard in homeschooling. And so I hope that between both of us and then the rest of this collab, we can cover a lot of those topics because we all struggle with it. No one's homeschool is rainbows and butterflies. And if you think it is, if you think you watch someone or you follow someone and their homeschool is always great, I'm telling you right now, it is not. They're not showing you the hard times because it's not easy to show the hard times because it's not easy. I don't think we would probably always act right in the hard times either. So,
I know for a fact I don't. I struggle with that big time. I end up adding to the bad day and not making it better because my frustration comes out, my anxiety comes out, my inability to regulate my emotions sometimes comes out. And it's a struggle to just make or turn the hard into good. And sometimes it feels good to kind of be in the hard and just lay into it. And then you feel guilty, of course, and you want to make it better. But at times it feels good to be bad.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, I mean, we'll just talk about moms having the hard time, right? Or trying to deal with something. You're normally each other's soundboard. We're home all day with our kids. Yeah. And so when we have emotions, sometimes the only other person in that house is the kid and sometimes they're causing it. And so, it's not always easy. We can't just get up and walk out the door. We can't just say bye. I need to go breathe. You can't do that all the time. And so that is, I think, a very unique struggle to stay-at-home parents, homeschooling parents, because it's just a unique dynamic only being there with your kid and not having something else to bounce off of.
And, it's probably just a little step harder when you have an only because now she's really up your butt in all the ways, shapes, or forms. And it's definitely a challenge when you're in a house with just one other human and you can't just be go with your siblings while I go have a moment. Because there are no siblings to go have a moment. And then I have to rely on her to actually go in her room by herself and occupy herself while I go have a moment or whatever, it adds a challenge. For sure. Not saying that it's bad all the time. It's not. And it has its pluses and perks and stuff like that. But one of the hard things for me has been, especially when we have a bad day, it's just accepting that it's a bad day and not forcing through work on those days. Because yes, in the future, when we have jobs, we have no choice but to force through our bad days and stuff like that. But when you have a kid and you have the actual ability and chance to say, this is a bad day, let's just not, let's just not school today. Because that kid isn't going to retain anything when you're both in a bad mood or you're both not having a good day. It's just not going to happen because you're too focused on the bad day or the bad emotion or the bad energy. It's typically not going to be a good learning day.
Yeah. See, I struggle with calling it a day, we're done because of other kids.
For sure.
Because I can't. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I've done that before. I've been there where one child sets me off, they get the others riled up, and I'm done. But then the other ones that are listening and being good, it's like, how do you kind of manage that? So we have not in a very long time stopped schooling because of a bad day.
Yeah, and I guess that's the difference in perspective when I'm the only one teaching her and it's her versus you having two other kids or however many are not having a good day.
Right.
But I guess in that situation, I feel like I would maybe pause and not just cancel it altogether, but just like, okay, let's start over in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, let's hope our bad date turns better in an hour. But like, or use that time, or at least for that kid, and use that time to work on your other two or your other three or whatever in the time being, and go back to the kid who's having the bad moment later. We don't cancel all that often. I mean, I say that, but like, we used to. When I didn't know how to handle those days, or when Molly's anxiety was super, super bad. Because her anxiety days come out in anger, and she's kind of like fight or flight. And so it is extremely hard. And then her perfectionism comes out. And then it becomes, holy crap, if I don't get this right, we're going to sit here and erase every little tiny detail until it's perfected on paper, which can be so struggling for the mom who has to sit there and be patiently as they do that, because you don't want to mess with them. If they think that that's the way that it needs to be, I can encourage her all day long that mistakes are okay.
Yeah,
but
right.
If she feels that it's right like that in her body to make it that way, then I can't really correct her on it. So that could be a struggle. It could be really bad when her perfectionism comes out. And actually that happened today during math, because she was getting super frustrated how she was writing out the multiplication and they had her like writing it out. And I just kept, nope, that's not right. And she'd like, oh my God, we must have sat on that page for like 20 minutes today, because she had to make sure she was getting it just right.
Yeah.
But I don't know, anxiety is a beast.
Well, that's what I think. So I almost think there's a difference, though, in what situations we're talking about. I'm talking about a bad attitude is not something that we would stop a school day for.
Right.
Dealing with something where a kid is shutting down and is overwhelmed, and then it's going into like their work can't even be done because she's going to stress herself out more. That's a different type of you almost have to stop because you're just asking for problems.
So I'll clarify. Her anxiety brings out her bad attitude, because she can't regulate and calm down and come down from whatever she's anxious about. So that's the difference. If it was literally a whole, I mean, she's always had anxiety, so it's hard to like even
separate it,
how it would be like separated. But another thing is that because of her because she's a perfectionist, she also thinks she's a know-it-all. And so it is really, really difficult when she's sitting there going, no, it's like this. And it's like, no, it's not. And you're like trying to say like, hey, I'm the adult, I'm the teacher. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. Either because it's A, in front of me in the teacher's manual, or B, I just know based on experience. But she gets in this like strands. Strands? Is that even a word? Trance, maybe? Yeah. It's been a day. So it's almost hard for her to like come out of that and get into like student role, and realize that like she doesn't know everything, because if I mean, I feel like all kids go through this where they think they're know-it-alls, or they think that they know the best thing for them, and we're over here going nope. And I know you have to let them make their mistakes sometimes. But it's difficult when you're trying to school a kid who thinks they already know what you're schooling them, when you know for a fact that they do not. And so it ends up being difficult because you're their teacher and their mom. And so you're their safe person to like sympathize with, but at the same time, you have to remain objective because like you have to criticize them sometimes when they're wrong, and when that comes from them knowing that you're just their mom as well, it's difficult because it's hard for kids to take that advice or criticism from someone who typically gives them praise. And that, I don't know, that it's a difficult concept for kids sometimes to
It's
hear that from us.
well, yeah, even it's just hard for them to really understand. Like, this is mom. This is who I can run and cry to. I can be emotional with. Yet, this is mom telling me I wrote the word wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, we dealt with that really hard, especially coming right out of public school, because I had to find my place too, right? I had to understand what the difference between it being teacher and being mom was. And Emma, my oldest, would love to pull the card. Well, my teacher did it like this, and my teacher said this. And I can't tell you, it probably took a good solid year and a half to break that, because I was trying to teach her like the writing process, like, just how to write a paragraph, or no, how to write an essay from paragraphs. And she would not break what she learned in school. And it was such a touchy topic. So a lot of times I do too, because Emma doesn't take it well when I tell her she's wrong. Topics like math or writing, I outsource it. I won't tell you you're wrong, but you enter the wrong problem in that system, it's going to ding at you that you're wrong. And then you can come ask me for help. So it's almost like I needed something else, not because they're not real, they're not really there, but like something as like a mediator, like, look, I'm not trying to be mean. But I'm trying to teach you. And so once we started all of that, that has helped a ton ease our tension. Where Mila, I could tell her the world is wrong and she'd be like, okay, let's fix it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're so polar opposite, but I had to get help, because I remember crying sitting over a Good and the Beautiful math book with her, because we were both just so frustrated and like not communicating well, because she was getting it wrong. I couldn't explain it any other way. And yeah. There was rough times.
I'm glad you mentioned that, though, because my intent for next year is to use teaching textbooks for this very reason.
Yep.
I want to take myself out of the equation on one of the toughest subjects that we struggle with. And it's not that I am an idiot I'm an idiot in math, but like
you still are capable of teaching. You're still capable of doing it. Yeah.
Right. But I'm not capable of managing how she's retaining it.
Yep.
Because it's not that she doesn't retain it. She just thinks that like today I told her you need to, like, she struggled with her multiplication. And I was like, you need to memorize your 3s and your 4s. Yeah. I'm like, I know you know how to skip count, but I need you to go, okay, 7 times 3 is 21. Right. It's not a topic of like you don't know your skip counting. It's just it's got to be learned in a certain way. And she's like, Mom, I know I'll never be able to do that. Oh yeah. And I'm like, don't say it that way. We have to speak positively to ourselves, because that is how we learn. We say, okay, it's hard today, but we can do it. We will learn it. It will take time. Like, nothing about this is easy. Yeah. It's not going to come like that. It's going to literally take everything we have in us to learn those things. I'm like, if you have to start out with skip counting, sure. If you want to start like there again, go ahead and do that. But then like you need to work yourself up. If you think that's too overwhelming, I'm okay with you starting it right there where you know your skip counting. But like that will build your confidence to then go, okay, I can do this. But like you can't start off going, I can't do this. And so like that'll never happen. And I'm like, Molly, like I'm not good at math either, but I could tell you 7 times 3 is 21 off the top of my head because I was taught to memorize my facts. Right. And so like, I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, but I know you can. And so it's this positive, but I don't want to be that person anymore. It's almost like she needs to hear from someone else.
She does. I'm telling you, 100%. And the other thing I was going to say too with Emma was also, as much as I thought she would have like kind of testing anxiety or like score anxiety, with using like Nicole the math lady in Saxon Math, she would get a score. And now it actually like motivates her to do good. She wants to get good scores. She wants to be getting 100% and stuff. So that makes her work even harder because it's against herself. It's not her trying to do it for me. It's her trying to do it for herself. Yeah. And, I also had to be like, look, this isn't going away. You've got another 8 years of this. So you might as well buckle up because, it's only getting harder. And that's maybe why Mila's so chill with it because she sees what Emma has to go through. Like with the multiplication fact, Emma
Yeah.
has straight up told me, like, you have to know these. You're not going to do well in your
Right.
next math course unless you know these. So we have that helping the factor of the older siblings kind of being like, no, you got to do this. Like, mom's not just being mean, you know?
Yeah, and Molly is the avoider, or the I had this conversation. Actually, I was filming a YouTube video for my individual channel today, and I talked about how, like, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? She's a hot crap.
An avoider? Is that what you just said?
Oh, yeah. So
With the word?
she thinks she can skip where she wants to.
Oh.
Like, oh, this is a great example of a privileged homeschooler. We're going to talk privilege for a second. Because I probably did this at some point where I'm like, let's just not do school today. Or, let's skip this page. This is stupid. Or, let's not do that problem. It doesn't matter.
Yep. And how'd that turn out?
Yeah, it's great over here. You know, I was going through our handwriting book, and I noticed she skips like the sections where it'll be like, write a sentence about your favorite food. Completely just skips it. She wants to trace and she wants to write the words and stuff like that, but like when it asks her to write a sentence, she's like, I don't have to do it. And I didn't notice that because I don't usually check her handwriting book.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing a video on our handwriting book, and I was going through the page. I'm like, okay. And now I'm like, I guess I better check her spelling book too, because I'm willing to bet she skips there too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's funny though, because that's just like her adapted, like, I don't have to do that. And it's like, yeah, you do. Like,
well, they watch us. And I did that a lot our first year. I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that. Or I didn't want to take the time to like figure it out. Like I was just like, yeah, I'm good. And that bit me in the ass, because then they would fall into those habits. Or it's fine, Mom, we don't need to learn that. And so we had to go through like a rough patch of like, no. So like I have to like prep myself.
It's hard.
It takes time.
That we should skip it.
Yeah, so that was a homeschool mom lesson that I had to deal with, is you can't do that because you're teaching them to do that.
Well, I feel like, I don't remember which curriculum it was, but I feel like there was something we were both doing that we were doing it a lot in. And I don't remember.
Beautiful. Language arts. The phonics. Yeah.
Oh, yes, we still do. Yeah, that's a problem. Which is why I'm really trying to change what we're doing next year, because I don't see the need for her to really use that curriculum, because I feel like she's above it.
Yeah, she's not learning anything from it.
She's learning more from other things that we're doing, and the good and the beautiful. It seems like her main like fun part is like the art. Well, I could pick some art.
Right. Yeah.
The geography pages. We could do geography. Or what's the other? The books. She likes the book. And it's like, I could still continue to buy the books. I bought the whole like Badger Farm series that they had, which I think is out of stock now, but I bought it for her for Christmas.
Yeah.
And so like, I could still do some of the things that she likes. It just doesn't have to be through them, because otherwise we skip so much. We skip the spelling. We skip the phonics. Like, she doesn't need to do the phonics. She doesn't need to know the phonics, because she can already read we did the assessment today. She read like the little paragraph or something in like 40 seconds.
Right.
And they said, make sure you have it by a minute 30.
Yeah, like 2 minutes.
I'm
you're
like,
good.
And then it said, you're going to retest this when she gets to like lesson 118. And I'm going, oh boy. So are we going to get down to like 30 seconds? Like, she's not. No. I think she just likes it because she's used to it, because we did it for so long. And she, new things are scary. And we had a lot of new things at the beginning of the year, and they didn't work out. So I just got to find something that will incorporate it. And I think Moving Beyond the Page incorporates it in the sense that I think they add in like some different subjects in like the language arts, like different within their different activities and stuff like that. I feel like
the Poppy book, like we were dissecting owl pellets. Like that's not language arts, that's science, but
right.
Yeah. So how do you deal with knowing, like talking about curriculum, when a kid is over a curriculum or they're just over school, right? Because we had to get through that. Like, is the curriculum causing the problems, or are they just
or mom, or all the above?
Right.
That's a tough one, because I don't know that any curriculum that we used is really the curriculum more so than it actually working with our flow. I feel like flow is a big deal and it might get like just not talked about enough, but like when you're sitting at the table and you're focused on doing school and it has you doing this and you need to focus, or it's not going in a logical sense or order, it throws your flow off. And so, like, for example, the good and the beautiful's math for us.
Yep.
That is a whole heck of a lot on a page. And they started their multiplication all wonky to me. Like, it didn't go in order. They started with random cards you had to memorize.
Yep.
And so I'm like, it was not going well. And so I didn't think, you have to take a step back and really evaluate why it's not going well and like what about it is not going well and what about the curriculum, but what about how your child's reacting to it? Because I know she doesn't like math, but she was very excited to start Math with Confidence. So I knew it had to have been the curriculum at that point.
Right.
But it's a tough one to recognize.
It's super tough because it's that fine line. Is it just because you don't like math or is it because this curriculum's not working? Yeah, I think it's important. And that's why, when I'm choosing curriculum, I choose what's going to stress me out the least.
It has to work for both of you.
Yeah.
It has to, or you're going to struggle. And that's why I think we struggle so much in math too, because I don't vibe well with Math with Confidence, but she does.
Yeah.
And so, but that's because of my portion of the curriculum and I don't like their teacher's manual.
Yeah, like what's expected of you and like if it's not easy for you.
Actually, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw, I don't know when this video is being posted, but you might have seen in the previous weeks, I posted us doing a math lesson on Instagram today, and I was stumbling over my words because the curriculum, I felt like, I don't know, the teacher's manual bounces, or it's not like, it doesn't flow right for me. And so I have trouble explaining the lesson at times.
Yep.
I just know that's not going to be what we choose next year.
Yeah. No, I've been there. That's why I can't use the Kind of Beautiful in the older grades because I cannot comprehend it. I don't know what it is, but like I can't teach it. I can't explain it. Their logic doesn't make sense to me. And so that already like hinders. And then I get frustrated. And then if I get frustrated, the mom sets the energy. And so if mom starts off frustrated in a bad mood, what do you expect to be like? What are your kids going to do? They're not going to calm you down.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think that's important to find stuff that like doesn't
trigger us.
Yeah.
You both got to vibe, or you got to, like you said, outsource it.
Yeah.
And take you out of the equation and find what's specifically best for them.
Yeah, if you have a kid that thinks that they're right all the time, I mean, we all go through that, I think. And the easiest way to knock that down is have someone tell them they're wrong and don't make it you. Because I mean, it sucks and it sounds harsh, but I'm telling you that, and Emma is now the best student. She is the best. And now there's no fights between us because now she understands like, I'm just here to learn with you. And that too, I think we need to be honest with our kids that like, when I'm teaching US history, I don't know this. I kind of know this, but I don't. And so it's cool. Like them now, like still respecting me, but understanding like, I don't know all the answers. Like I'm here to like be a guide, but we're learning together.
Yeah. And like sometimes, how do I word this? I feel like when I don't know, so I get that a lot from people who are just knowing that I'm a homeschooler and they, well, if you're just going to have them do it like online, what's the point? Shouldn't you just send them to school? And it's like, or are you intelligent enough to teach them this subject? Because I remember when you were in school and you didn't do well with math. How are you, like, she's a smart kid. How are you going to reach their level and give them their full potential education? And I have to go, because there's a million resources out there. Like, I have things that tell me word for word how to help with this.
Just like the same teachers in school use the same teacher textbooks that tell them what to tell the kids. They're not mathematicians.
And I think that's where people who have these opinions on homeschoolers don't truly understand some yes, teachers go to school to be a teacher. Yes, but they are not learning the curriculum in school to master all the facts and information in the curriculum. They are learning how to teach all different types of curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not mastering a certain subject per se, because they could be completely versed in one subject, but then still have to teach other subjects, and they're going off of a book, just like we are.
Exactly like we are. Yeah, I love when people say about like higher level science, like, oh, shouldn't like a physicist be teaching them physics? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but if you're a physicist, you're not teaching elementary or middle school or high school, because you're probably making over $100,000 somewhere, and that's no shade to teachers, but like, let's be honest, someone who is a scientist is not teaching high school science. That's not what's required. So that's the biggest load of crap. And you shouldn't feel bad about using online resources, because those people are experts. That's their business. There are people who choose to teach higher level courses on a specialty because they're a retired scientist or they're a college professor who wants kids to learn stuff. So we have more choices to give our kids better education in those fields, because we can choose whatever we want.
Yeah, for instance, OutSchool. How many retired or ex-police or whoever who teach like all different kinds of things on there? I mean, we have the widest range, and especially now in the last 4 years of homeschooling booming out there, because I feel like there's a ton more curriculum than there ever was, and there's constantly new things coming out. So we have so many options out there to really teach what we need to teach to our children. And just because we don't have an education degree doesn't mean we don't have common sense.
Right.
And doesn't mean that we don't have ways to make that happen and be good for them. But I get it. Everyone can be skeptical, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of insulting. So,
well, I think that kind of adds sometimes to our bad days, right? Because I think we're trying to hold ourselves to the standard that doesn't really exist, but we feel like we have to teach this so well or do so good with our kids, and it just kind of adds to that level, which we talk about that all the time.
Yeah,
our internal struggles of like doing it all.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up for today. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think we covered it. I mean, really, there's no answer how to deal with stuff. It's going to happen, and you just kind of take it as it comes, right?
So if you're new here, I'm Nickie.
And I'm Ashlee.
Please support our new awesome adventure to homeschool moms. We're on YouTube. We're on all podcast platforms. There's also a link in the description box for this collaboration video. So check out all the other moms who are joining us today on our Homeschooling Through the Hard Times. And we'll see you in our next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye. We want to hear from you. Your feedback is invaluable to us. So let us know your thoughts on today's episode. Share your topic suggestions or ask us any burning questions you may have. Your input shapes the direction of our podcast, and we're here to create content that resonates with you.
If you enjoy listening to homeschool stories, curriculum reviews, advice, struggles, and overall mom life, this podcast is for you. But so is our YouTube channels.
Don't forget to check out our individual channels. We share even more content, insights, and a behind-the-scenes look at our lives. Thanks for listening.